Director.
Hindi po. Specific po to, again, and again, as much as possible, no? In terms of participation and transparency, we are strengthening the involvement and participation of the local government units dito. Because we realize that at the end of the day, no, tayo po, taga Manila, no? Sina Governor Panalingan, sila yung taga Mindoro. So they should, we appreciate that the local government should have more full knowledge and participation of the affairs and the programs where those money go, because they are the ones that are going to be finally affected, not us, capitalists who are residing here in Manila.
Now, in terms of waste, Mr. Chairman, I'm also bothered by another technical observation that it takes about 3 tons of waste of ore to produce a gold ring. It's quite unnerving from the environmental point of view. Maybe it's better to generate that waste in another country instead of here in the Philippines to produce the gold rings. Can you imagine how many gold rings we need to produce for a lot of people who are getting married this year, for example?
Thank you po, Mr. Chairman. Dito po si Mr. Portis na sa katabi ko. Meron nga pong article dyan, tinatawag ko dyan, detrimental.
And my final question, Mr. Chairman, is this. Well, actually, maybe my next final question. Can the director point to me a community that became prosperous because of mining? As prosperous as, let's say, General Santos, or Davao City, or Tagbilaran, or Loboc, or Kitapawan, or Coronadal, that did not depend on mining. For example, Paracale. I've been reading about Paracale gold mines since I was a little kid. I was there a few years ago. I did not see a prosperous community. I still saw a very backward community, despite the fact that it's been called one of the gold mining centers of the Philippines.
Mr. Chairman, 2 things po, no? Nakalimutan kong banggitin kanina. Isa pang, we were very conscious to maintain, to put into the Mining Act is that, kasi nabanggit niyo po yung Paracale, Panganiban area, any and all social infrastructures that were constructed during the mining operations, such as church, schools, hospitals, water systems, power systems, has to be left behind to the community and turned over to the local government. Kasi nga naman, nabanggit niyo po yung Paracale. Pa naman ako magtatagal doon? No? Tinanggal niyo naman, pag-alis niyo, tinanggal niyo naman lahat yung bus station, giniba niyo yung eskwelahan, yung hospital. So in the new act, we made it a point that any and all of these social infrastructures are going to be turned over.
No, but I think we're missing the point here, Director. What I'm saying is that it should not depend on that mining entity to build that infrastructure. What I'm saying is that that business as an economic activity should also trigger other economic activities so that it will have a life of its own, like, for example, in other communities, because of commerce. A lot of people getting involved, not depending on extracting natural resources. It has a life of its own. Unlike in the case of Paracale, you remove the Paracale mines, the community dies.
Kami po ngayon sa Mining and Geosciences Bureau, ang basic philosophy namin that we would like to really move on is how to make use of the benefits of mining as your socio-economic capital to move on. So that somewhere along the line, tama po yung sinasabi nyo, we can win ourselves out, no? from such dependencies. But as it is right now, whether we like it or not, this is a potential capital that we could make use of. Ang challenge sa atin po ngayon yan.
Ako kasi dito, no? You know, when one depends so much on the natural resource, it's what we call the Dutch disease. It becomes a curse. The abundance of the natural resource eventually becomes a curse to that community. For example, in Indonesia, when Indonesia depended so much on Pertamina, 75% of the revenue of Indonesia in the 70s were dependent on Pertamina oil. The economy was very backward. And when Pertamina had a big scandal, the economy went down. But when they diversified, instead of depending on extractive industries, the economy flourished, just like the economies here in the Philippines. You can track that down geographically. Places that are dependent on mining, they have a very fragile economy. But places that are depending on a free interchange of commerce, diversified, would be sustained. It's not dependent on anything. So, I was bothered when your former Secretary of Department Secretary went to South Africa a few years ago, I think it was in 2006, and announced that he's offering about 9 million hectares of land for mining in a country with only 30 million hectares. That might end up in my backyard. My backyard in Parañaque might be part of that being offered as a mining area by the DNR. Imagine 30% of the country's land being offered as for mining. That's on the record, 9 million hectares. I don't know if that has been corrected already, Director.
They've explained that 9 million hectares is our evaluation of the potentially mineralized areas of the country.
So 1/3 of the country. That will include Parañaque already. Well, that's all, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity you gave me to ask a few questions. Thank you very much.
Congressman Roilo Golez, I hope you remember us when you are in Parliament. Before we wind up here, I'd like to recognize Congressman Roilo, but before that, I would like to also make sure we tackle Mindoro, because after all, the governor went all the way here and it's almost 4 o'clock. Go ahead.
In that case, Mr. Chairman, in the interest of time, may I just put on record follow-up questions that I wanted to pose to Apex Mining, and if they could furnish the committee their response to these questions. I'll just enumerate them, Mr. Chairman, and no longer use the time to request their answer today. In their position paper, letter C, they said it appeared that deep tension cracks were present on the top side of mountain area. Does this indicate that this is an earthquake-prone area? And then at the end of that letter C, they said the earth, which is loosened the earth, which is primarily composed of pyroclastic or